Let's journey back in time to explore a truly epic story. It's the tale of a magnificent civilization, the people of Ad, and how their incredible pride, their hubris, led them straight to a devastating end. You see, this is a story that begins with a desperate prayer and ends in total annihilation. I want you to think about this for a second. What if you were pushed to the absolute brink, praying for anything, any sign of relief, only for the answer you get to be not your salvation, but your complete and utter destruction? Well, that is the chilling paradox at the very heart of this story. So, our story kicks off in the legendary city of Iram. Now, this place was a marvel, home to the incredibly powerful people of Ad. I mean, they were known for their strength, their amazing architecture, but for all their power, they were completely helpless against one crippling force of nature. 3 years. Can you imagine that? For 3 entire years, not a single drop of rain had fallen. The land was just dust. The people were beyond desperate, and they were looking everywhere for just any sign of hope.
And this is where the real conflict starts to take shape. A prophet, a man named Hood, came and warned them, "Hey, you're on the wrong path." But they wouldn't listen. Nope. Instead, they turned to idols, these stone statues, believing they held the power to end all their suffering. So while the people of Ad are busy praying to their idols for a little rain, their real fate had already been spelled out in a divine warning. And listen to this description from the Quran. It's terrifying. It doesn't talk about life-giving water. It talks about a destructive wind so strong it could literally rip people out of the ground like you'd uproot a tree. And then, right when their desperation was at its absolute peak, it seemed like their prayers were answered. Something appeared on the horizon, something that would seal their fate forever. Just try to picture this scene. After 3 years of nothing but sun and dust, this massive dark cloud starts gathering in the distance. And the people see it, and they go wild. The city of Iram just erupts in cheers. They think, this is it. It's finally over. Their joy was just absolute. They started praising their idols, totally convinced that their faith had paid off. To them, that cloud was undeniable proof that their gods were real, powerful, and had finally listened to their pleas. But here's the tragic twist. What they saw and what was really happening were 2 completely different things. They saw a beautiful rain cloud of salvation. In reality, it was a storm of retribution. They thought it was the answer to their prayers? It was the start of their punishment. What looked like a sign of hope was actually an omen of their destruction. So, yeah, that celebration was incredibly short-lived. As that cloud got closer, it became terrifyingly clear that it wasn't bringing rain. It was bringing something so much worse. The reckoning had arrived. And this wasn't just any storm. The source calls it a Ria Akim, a barren wind. Think about that name. It means it carried no life, no water, no seeds, nothing good. Its one and only purpose was annihilation. The very moment that wind hit Iram, all that joy turned into pure, sheer panic. It was this furious, shrieking force that just ripped through buildings, and people started running for their lives. The cheers from moments ago, they were now screams of terror. And the realization just slammed into them with horrifying speed. This wasn't a blessing from their idols at all. This was a curse. Their beautiful sign of hope had become an undeniable omen of their own doom. And there was absolutely nowhere to hide. But here's where the story gets even more chilling. This wasn't just a random act of destruction. No. Inside the chaos of that storm, the judgment became deeply, deeply personal. And we see this through the eyes of a man named Rapha. So as this wind is howling around him, Rapha hears a voice call his name. And it's the voice of Cadiz, a man that he had murdered. This exchange is just bone-chilling. It shows us that the storm was bringing a specific reckoning for each person's sins. For Rapha, there was no escaping his violent past. So in his final terrifying moments, what does Rapha do? He does the only thing he knows how. He cries out to the very same idols he was celebrating just a little while before. His last words are this desperate, completely useless plea to the false gods that gave him no protection at all. The storm raged on and on until its job was done. And when the wind finally died down, the great civilization of Ad was simply gone. But their story didn't end there. It became a powerful, timeless lesson. The punishment was total. The wind completely annihilated the people of Ad. That magnificent city of Iram wiped off the face of the earth. But, and this is key, the prophet Hud and the few who actually listened to his warning they were saved. And their people's destruction? It became a stark warning for every generation that followed. The source itself leaves us with this final, powerful question to reflect on. So how was my punishment and my warning? It's a heavy thought, right? A story about a people who prayed for a cloud and got a storm, forever reminding us of that thin, terrifying line between salvation and destruction.